All right, this is your identifying functions second video. This one is just going to go into a little bit more depth of what is a function and how do we find it. So remember, a function, first of all, does not repeat x's. So I'm going to write this at the top of my paper. Oh man, I'm misspelling things already. This is the simplest version of a definition for functions. Functions do not repeat x's. And so let's go talk about what different, let's try to, figure out if these down here are functions or not. So first of all, I'm going to read this. It says an ordered pair for a relation is considered to be a function if each member of the domain, which is x, must be paired up with only one member of the range, which is y. Domain and range are vocabulary words that we're going to learn eventually, like in Algebra 1. But for now, we just know that domain is x, each member of x has to be paired up with one y. And we already know that from our last video, but it basically just means x's cannot repeat. So if it says therefore, if x values repeat, then we consider this a non-function. All right, and let's talk about the notes up here. From a graph, so it might be easy to look at the x values on numbers, but it might be a little bit more difficult to look at a graph. So let's talk about a graph real quick. The blank can be used to determine if a graph represents a function. We talked about this in our last video. It is a vertical line test. If you draw a vertical line and it touches more than once, it is not okay. Vertical line test tells us if it passes the vertical line test, that means it doesn't touch more than once. It is a function, and if not, it is not a function. So it says if a vertical line intersects a graph more than one place, it is a non-function. All right, let's look at these examples to help us realize what we're talking about here. So number 1 and number 2 are both a list of coordinates. Remember, coordinates all have an x value and a y value. That's how they're listed. It was as if they were plotting them like points on a graph, like that. Yeah. Sorry. So all these coordinates have one x value, and it is the first number here. The second number is the y value. Those don't matter when we're talking about where we're trying to figure out what a function, if it's a function or not. So 0, 1, -2, -1, 3, -1. The only ones that I see that repeat are these negative ones here. You might think that that one repeats with them because it's a 1, but it's a positive 1. These are both negative. Those are what tells me right here, these numbers right here are what tells me that this is a non-function. All right, next, let's look at this one, number 2. I have -1, 3, -2, -5, 4, and -4. None of these repeat. These are all different numbers from each other. So this one is a function. It works. It does not repeat any x's. All right, let's look at this table. This one is laid out nice and neatly for us. I don't have to go circling anything. All of these numbers right here are the x's. We have -1, 1, 3, -5, and 2. None of them repeat, which is a good thing. We have a function. On number 4, let's look. We have -4, 2, 1, 2, and 4. What I do notice is that these 2's repeat. We have a non-function. All right, sometimes mappings are a little bit hard to see because the arrows start getting kind of crazy. But remember that the x values, the one in the first bubble, has to be paired up with only one y value. And all of these x values only have one arrow coming from them. It doesn't matter that both of them are going to the 7. Y's don't matter. All we care about is the x's having only one arrow, and this one is good. This one is a function. This one here, when I look at it this way, it doesn't look like any of the numbers repeat. However, I do notice this 6 is going to the 2 and to the 8. If it were written out like a table or like a list of coordinates, this 6 would be repeating. So since the 6 is repeating, it is a non-function. All right, so we have looked at different ways to see if it is a function or non-function from values. Let's test, or let's try out our vertical line test to see if these graphs are functions or not. Okay, some of these are going to get a little bit weird because you've never seen graphs like this before, and we're really not going to work with them too much besides this fact of trying to identify functions or not. Remember, the function is only identified by using the vertical line test. If we ever draw a vertical line and it touches coordinates more than one time, wherever it is, I'm testing all these coordinates to see none of those vertical lines that I just drew ever touches more than one dot. Since it doesn't touch anything besides one dot, that means the x's did not repeat. That's a good thing. This is a function. This one here, let's see, I'm going to draw a vertical line there. Oh no, as soon as I drew this vertical line, I realized that it touched twice. I don't have to draw any more vertical lines because that right there tells me that this is not a function. It touches twice on that vertical line. That means the x values repeat. That means if I were plotting these points on a table or listing them out in a list of coordinates, I would have double whatever this number is on the x-axis. Okay, I think it's 2, -2. All right, let's look at these. Gets a little bit weird because it's not coordinates anymore. It's like zigzags and a triangle. So I'm still going to use a vertical line. I'm just going to throw it on the graph randomly. That place only hits once. That one only hits once. That one only hits once. That one only hits once. Yeah, I mean, I think it's never going to hit more than once. So this one is good. It is, oh darn it, it is a function. All right, what about here? I'm just going to draw a random, as soon as I drew it, I realized it goes through that triangle 2 times, more than 1 time. So this one is right off the bat a non-function. All right, number 11, you could probably tell that anywhere I draw a vertical line, I'm going to be touching more than 1 time. And in some places, I'm touching like a lot of times, maybe. That one touched like 4 times. So this one down here is a non-function. All right, on this one, it doesn't really matter where I touch or I draw the vertical line. I could draw it anywhere. It's only going to touch that line once, which means that this one is a function. All right, don't think too hard about this stuff. It's pretty simple. You're just looking for x's to not repeat and for a vertical line to pass through the graph.